I recently got back from a week in Italy. Hannah and I visited Pisa, Florence, Siena, the Tuscany countryside and Rome. And as much of a holiday as this was for both of us, I obviously took lots of photographs and documented the trip. So here's what we got up to from 6 days travelling around Italy. Day one, we landed in Pisa around midday, and I don't know about you, but whenever I get to a new place, I find myself being very trigger happy, just taking advantage of the novelty, warming up my eyes and taking photos of anything, even if the photographs are a bit naff. The only camera I brought with me on this trip for photography was the M11P, but I did bring two lenses, the 28mm from Thypoc and the Summilux 35mm. I will be doing a full video all about that 28mm lens, but spoiler alert, it's fantastic. However, on day one, I decided to go with the 35mm.
Tuscany salami. Green sauce.
Green sauce?
That's what it said. It said green sauce.
Okay.
So, I don't know what that is.
Rocket.
Rocket and sun-dried tomatoes.
Let's do it.
Of course, the biggest attraction in Pisa is the famous leaning tree.
Yeah, that's spot on actually.
In the afternoon, we ticked off our tourist to-do list, and other than the wonky building and the surrounding historic area, which is pretty cool, there isn't that much else to do. So as the evening drew to a close, we jumped on the train and headed to Florence, where we'll be spending the next couple of days. The next day we woke up in Florence, and although this was supposed to be our cloudiest, dreariest day of the trip, things were looking up because after a leisurely wander around the city in the morning, we headed on a coach for the afternoon to do some wine tasting. Florence has a lot of history, as you could have imagined, and our first error was not pre-booking a ticket to the main cathedral, which looked absolutely stunning, but the queue for that looked like it could have taken all day. So Hannah and I kept our activities to the free exploration of the city, which wasn't really a problem because it really is a stunning place.
Önce okşasana kafasını bir. Dilek dilek.
One little side note from Florence. Don't be convinced by the artists that are working in the street. Hannah actually peered over this guy's shoulder and he wasn't painting anything. In fact, he was just fake scribbling on some paper. I think it's all a front. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think all of the artists are faking it, but I don't necessarily think it's as authentic as you think it is.
God, this is hard work.
How did that go?
They're all really blurry. This is not okay.
And I promise you, it's going to be more like that.
That's not telling me if it's
Then
blurry.
no, but you line up the box and that's in focus. You know, there's like a little fake box in the middle. Line that up.
But you're blurry. you're blurry. The whole thing is blurry and awful.
All right, now it's time to do some wine tasting, like I have any idea what I'm doing.
We're going on a school trip to drink some alcohol. Let's go get drunk.
After 1 or 6 glasses of wine with intricate tasting notes and expert thoughts to analyse which flavours we preferred, I thought they were all alright. We then headed out into the gardens for a beautiful sunset, and this was the highlight of the day for me.
Is it electric?
No. And I'm recording audio, so...
Oh no. Everyone will know how funny I am.
On the third day, we spent one final morning exploring Florence before we collected our rental car and headed into the Tuscany countryside.
Can't stop.
This is actually the first time I have hired and driven a car in a different country. It turns out it's not that much different. I was a little bit nervous going into it, but actually it was quite fun. I wouldn't fancy driving in the centre of Rome, though, for example, so the Tuscany countryside was very easy for me to handle. We then arrived at the hotel where we would spend the next 2 nights, and this was one of the nicest locations I've ever stayed at. This is also where I took some of my favourite photographs from the entire trip. On the morning of day 4, we jumped in the Bugatti Veyron and headed to the beautiful city of Siena. Oh.
Which one's your favourite?
Mine.
Yeah, your favourite.
What she said was traditional for this area. I don't know what it is, but almonds was in it, so.
Pretend this is a TikTok top 5 favourite things to eat in Siena.
It's sweet.
Right. Cool.
It's not as soft as I thought it would be on the inside, but it's very nice. Almond is definitely, almond biscuit. Very sweet.
Out of 10?
For me, I don't like almond, so 4.
With a hint of almond, sugar,
Yeah, lots.
almond and sugar. Delicious.
I obviously love big cities when travelling, but sometimes the more quiet local areas are just as interesting. Back in December when I visited Andalusia, we stopped by a small local town called Osuna, and that became one of my favourite places to explore from that entire trip. Now, Siena is still very active and has tourists, but the population is around 53,000 compared to Florence, for example, which is 380,000, so it's definitely a nice change of pace. Something I've done since this trip is actually create a personalised photo book consisting of my favourite images from Italy. Sal Digital have kindly sponsored this video and they have a great offer for you guys if you are interested in making something like this yourself. Essentially, this is a personal photo book as something for Hannah and I to remember and physically have on our coffee table. On this trip, I took hundreds of photographs, and like many digital images, once they're on a screen or they're on a hard drive or saved on a cloud, that's it. And I don't want that to be the end goal for my images. I want to have them physically. I want to have a tangible memory. And that's what creating a book like this does. Going forward, I want to create more personal photo albums from our travels, especially considering how beautiful this book came out and how straightforward it was to create using Sal Digital services. This book is from their professional line, and I went with this really nice red leather for the cover and silk inside pages. From designing and sequencing the book, you have plenty of creative options and the whole process is very intuitive. And here's the cool part, if you wanted to create something similar to this, maybe you just come back off a trip, or you just generally want to create a photo book for yourself, Sal Digital are offering 50% off their entire photo album product range. This is also only valid for 3 months after this video has been published, and it can only be redeemed once per person per household. The link is in the description if you're interested in checking it out. I do just want to say a big thank you to Sal Digital for sponsoring this video, because having a product like this from my trip to Italy, yeah, this is special. On the 5th morning, we checked out of our hotel in the Tuscany countryside, which was bittersweet really, because on one hand, it was the most beautiful place I've ever stayed at and I want to live there. But on the other hand, I was really excited to be visiting Rome. We drove back to Florence to drop off the car and then headed to the train station. Here we had 2 options: pay the cheap ticket and get the 3-hour train ride, or pay the expensive ticket and get the 1-hour train ride. Everything on this trip was going so smooth that it was almost too good to be true. So at the train station, we actually paid for the expensive ticket and still got on the slow train. Mistake made, lesson learned. However, the issue wasn't the 3-hour train ride, but the fact that we booked a group tour of the Colosseum, and unfortunately, our train antics meant that we missed that. Because we already paid for the tickets in advance when we arrived in Rome, we just explored the Colosseum in our own time, without the group. I cannot believe they built that entire place just to film Gladiator. But that is definitely top 5 greatest movies of all time, so I think it was worth the effort. Following the Colosseum, we explored the Roman Forum, and on a serious note, it is absolutely mind-blowing the scale and history of that place, and to think that it was literally the centre of the world at one point, it's very impressive. Rome has been high on my list of places to visit for a very long time, and deep down, I'm a big geek and a nerd, and the history of it all just fascinates me. It didn't disappoint at all. As this would probably be the longest day we would get a chance to explore one single place from sunrise to sunset, this also turned out to be one of my best days for photography in terms of output. We started the day with a brilliant find, a great coffee and breakfast spot, Bar Num Roma. And this was easily the best coffee and breakfast I had had the entire trip in Italy. Warning, snobby coffee comment incoming right now. I originally thought Italy was supposed to be pretty well known for its coffee, but as this was my 3rd time visiting, I've come to the conclusion it's pretty average. Maybe I am just incredibly spoiled, as I think London does have some of the best coffee in the world. However, the Bar Num Roma cafe was a delightful place. The food and coffee were both on point. So if you're in Rome and you're looking for some decent coffee, definitely check this place out. The only thing that had a dedicated time slot for this day in Rome was a group tour of the Vatican City and St. Peter's Basilica. And we were on time for this one. I don't think I have the words to describe how incredible St. Peter's Basilica was. Ever since walking through the doors to filming this video now, I am in absolute awe of that place. I genuinely think Rome has become my new favourite city, except for London, obviously. On day 7, we flew back to England, so those 2 and a bit days that we spent in Rome just wasn't enough, and I will definitely be going back. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hannah and I both adored our trip, and Italy in general hasn't disappointed at all. It really is a beautiful country.